The following program is sponsored by John Chachis Insurance, your local farmers insurance agent located 800 Avenue G in Ely, and brought to you as a public service by Ely TV Channel 3-2 in Ely, Nevada. Ely City Council meeting, February 13th, 2014.
The room over there holds about 45 people, and we've got a lot more than that here. So, but we will start the meeting at 4:15. That gives anybody that goes over to the Armory a chance to get over here and be in time for the meeting. So it'll start at 4:15. After.
Let's pray. Father, as we come before you, I just thank you for this great nation in which we live, our Constitution, and the rule of law. Father, I know that there's a lot of people here who's very anxious. I thank you for the public that is here. I ask you to bless them. Father, I thank you for this town council, or this city council that is here. I thank you for Mayor Hickman. I pray for every council member here now, that they would be blessed with wisdom and fairness as they discuss the items on the agenda and make decisions. Let it be with fairness, O Father. I pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Father. Jennifer, roll call. Stick you right there.
Present. Durbin.
Present.
Lee.
Here.
Councilman Westland.
Here.
Councilman Townsend.
Present.
Clerk Treasurer Rogan. Here. Public Works Director Jenkins.
Here.
City Attorney Sears.
Here.
City Engineer Alber.
Here.
Fire Chief Rivera.
Here.
Building Official Christensen.
Here.
That's all, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, I'm the only one that has an iPad up here, and the reason I got that so the light was in my face at all times. I hope you guys appreciate it. And, okay, number 2, public comments. Comments about decision agreements and which will be accepted from the general public in the assembly. If any are made, there needs to be discussion upon comments. No vote, decision, or action may be taken upon matters raised under the items informed place on the agenda. Comments during the discussion will not be accepted from the general public. Section 8.05 of the Nevada Open Meeting Law Manual indicates that the public body may prohibit the comment of the if the content of the comment is a topic that is not relevant or within the authority of the public body. If the content of the comment is willfully disruptive to the meeting by being irrelevant or repetitious, slanderous, offensive, inflammatory, irrational, or amounting to personal attack, interfering with the rights of other speakers. With that, we'll open it for public comment.
name's John Cobb. And being we have so many people here, I just have about 3 things I wanted to say. First of all, I wanted to thank the city employees for the way they took care of snow removal this year. They've done a real good job with snow removal. The second thing I want to talk about is, being there's a lot of people here, I would like some support, because there was talk a few months ago to tear out the little playground equipment up at the city park, and I opposed to them doing that then, and they finally held off. They haven't done it yet, but I don't know if it's still in the plan to tear it out, but I'm hoping a few other people besides myself would want to keep it. It's a historical site, basically. That playground equipment is a lot of fun for kids. I've talked to a lot of kids up there just in the last few months that really enjoyed playing up there. I know my kids did, my grandkids did, and my great-grandkids are playing up there. And I'd like to keep it the way it is. If they want other playground equipment, fine. But put it in a little, either close by or in a different area, but leave what's there. Because it is a good historical, and a lot of people, tourists, have a good time. And what else was I going to talk about now? Well, I'll think of it in a minute, and I'll come back later on. But the playground is main thing all the time.
Okay.
I'd like to thank the City Council for this opportunity to address this board. How many people here?
Name, please.
John Gianoli. I'm going to get there, Rich. How many people here remember being in this facility back in grade school and all the enjoyment that we had here? That's tradition. That's tradition, folks. Again, Rich, the name is John Gianoli. I am currently on the board of the foundation. I've served on the board for approximately 12 years. The last 5 or 6 as the chairman of the board. As you can see, the railroad is extremely important to this community. It's extremely important to me personally. I go back multi-generations. My grandfather, Art Cahill, worked at the railroad for many years, retired as the chief mechanical officer. His nameplate is still down there on the wall. The interesting thing about that is Grandpa Art went to work at the railroad. He was hired on Christmas Eve.
What'd you do, John? Why was my fault?
In any case, I think that's rare. Nobody hires on Christmas Eve anymore. The important thing is the railroad runs very deep in my feelings and the feelings of my family. I listened for years. My mother talked about the call boys coming to the window, announcing to Art he needed to go to work. So that's, and my family has invested a lot of time, effort, and resources into the railroad through the years. What is of extreme importance to me at this point is that one day I want to be able to look in the eyes of my grandson, my 18-month-old grandson. I don't know if you're here, Jack. He was going to come today. And I want to be able to say, you know, I did something to keep this railroad for you and for future generations. We've found ourselves locally in a very poor situation with all of the rancor that's gone on between the boards, the foundation board and the city. I, for one, applaud the city council for adding that item for an ad hoc committee. I think we need to slow down. We need to take our time here, because no one no one has ever told me they want to see the railroad closed. Well, it's fine to espouse that belief. Problem is, if we continue down this road with these items appearing in all the local tabloids, people all over the world literally pay attention to what's going on. It's very destructive to
John,
the...
I'm going to have to, you have 3 minute public comment.
Okay, are we...
If I keep going over that.
Go quicker?
No, you're right a little while. You've been up there for
Am I already over 3 minutes? Oh, excuse me. In any case, it's extraordinarily important what's happening here. We need to show some control. We need to sit down and address this thing intelligently and resolve these problems, because we're very close to losing what we have here, and that would be a horrible event for everyone. Thank you.
Anybody else for public comment? Anybody else for public comment?
Good afternoon. My name's Dave Tilford. And about 30 years ago or so, 1978, Kennecott closed, as many of you know. And at that time, they were making plans as to what to do with their physical assets, and that included the railroad. About 30 years ago, a group of citizens from this community had made the decision that it might be a good idea to approach Kennecott and see if there was any way that the city, the county, the state could preserve the railroad, because we'd heard that it was on the list of being sold and scrapped out. So this group made an appointment with the general manager at Kennecott at that time in McGill. His name was Stuart Nebeker. And they went to McGill, and when they got to Mr. Nebeker's office, there was a gentleman ahead of them in Mr. Nebeker's office doing some business with him. And while the group sat there waiting for their turn to go in, another gentleman came in and sat down and was waiting for his appointment to come around. Finally, the group that was there from the city got their turn, and they went in and asked Stuart Nebeker if Kennecott would give the railroad to the community. And he said that he would take it to Salt Lake and see what would happen. Well, it's 30 years later, and we know what happened. The railroad was given to the city, and when I say the city, I'm talking about not the management board or the city council, but it was given to the city of Ely, to all of you, and to the people of White Pine County, and to the state of Nevada. So 30 years later, we've got an asset that cannot be replaced. Back on the East Coast, where the United States had the biggest railroads anywhere in the world, when they shut down back there, they had a very difficult time in trying to replace those railroads and make them into tourist railroads. The Virginia and Truckee Railroad in Nevada over in Carson City was dismantled and hauled away, and the state of Nevada spent millions of dollars on trying to bring it back into existence. We have something here that is second to none any place in the United States. And to end my comments, the two gentlemen that were in Mr. Nebeker's office in McGill, the man that was already in with his appointment and the guy that was coming in after us, were salvage people. The guy that was in the office ahead of us was from Portland, and the gentleman that went into Mr. Nebeker's office after us was from Los Angeles, and they were there to talk to Kennecott about scrapping the railroad. Thank God they did it.
have to do it at the end, and at the end there's one more public comment. You can't do that.
My name is Pat Setterstrom, and first off, I want to apologize because I'm sure I'm going to offend some people. I usually don't speak during public comment, but tonight I feel I need to voice my opinion. I am angry about a lot of issues. I'm angry about the rumors going around that the city wants to shut down the railroad. I am angry about letters being posted in town telling people they are going to lose their jobs. I'm angry about things I read in the newspaper, and I am very angry that I am in this theater attending a city council meeting. The audit done on the railroad threw up red flags. It is the city council's responsibility to make sure these are fixed. They are trying to save the railroad, not shut it down. They have to abide by the law. These issues need to be addressed and the problems need to be resolved. They want what's best for the city and the railroad. There have been letters posted around town saying the railroad will probably shut down and all the staff will lose their jobs if the city gets involved. In the newspaper, Mr. Bassett stated he doesn't feel secure in his position because of the council's track record of firing city employees. There was only one city employee that was let go. Mr. Bassett also stated that the city attorney is gone, when in fact Kevin Briggs still works for the city of Ely. If Mr. Bassett would misinform you about this, what else would he be misinforming you about? Mr. Bassett also stated he doesn't trust the city council because of Councilman Westman. People are saying this is a personal vendetta. Maybe it's a personal vendetta for Mark. We all know Mr. Bassett sent out a letter to the citizens of Ely supporting and urging voters to vote for Robert Szilagyi, Ron DiCiano, and Don Carrington during the last election. None of these gentlemen won. The people of Ely spoke, and the council sitting in front of us is who they elected. I can't stop what people are saying, but a lot of things that are being brought up are things that happened in the past. Let's concentrate on the stuff at hand. Mr. Bassett needs to be upfront with answers when questions are asked and stop putting smoke screens up everywhere. Lastly, the Attorney General states, and I quote, that public bodies should avoid holding public meetings in places to which the general public does not feel free to enter. I am not comfortable being in this building tonight. I never wanted to come to the Ely Central Theater again, and this is because of the owners. Mr. Chris Lanny has continually posted opposition against this council. In his postings to save the railroad, he has fueled many fires and added to the rumors that the railroad will shut down if the city gets involved. Yes, we have freedom of speech, but why would we hold a council meeting in this place of business? Mr. Don Carrington has filed open meeting violations against 3 city councilmen. To me, that makes this theater a hostile environment. Let's hope it gets changed before the next council meeting. Thank you.
My name is Bill Wolf, and I hadn't planned on speaking until I just heard what was just said. And to me, it's mind-boggling that somebody would come up here and say that they find the building itself as a hostile environment. The building is a structure. It's a facility for us to come and meet in. If there's hostility, it's because of what this city council seems to have been doing over the last 6 months or 9 months that they've been in service. I don't understand what this controversy is with the railroad. Here's a guy who seems to be doing a good job. He's building it up. He's well recognized within the railroad community. And he's lent money to the railroad. He hasn't taken money from the railroad. And how that could be a bad thing, how a person can put his heart and soul into it to help make the thing run and be chastised for it, I don't understand. I think you guys are going entirely down the wrong road by trying to apply more on-hands management of the railroad. You have a board that is doing a fine job. The audit has not noted that I know of any exceptions that would cause you guys to want to take it over. I think under Mr. Gianoli's supervision, if there was any misappropriations of funds, those would be noted and they would be dealt with. The fact that the railroad is well run means that it shouldn't even be an issue. The city council shouldn't even be taking this up. It should be allowed to be run as it is. And the fact that there's people that are making this into an issue is what makes it look like it's a vendetta to go after somebody. It makes no sense what you guys are doing, and I would hope that you would back off from what you're doing and let the board do its job. Thank you.
My name is Susan Wetmore, and I wanted to address one item on the agenda. That would be under old business, the White Pine Historical Railroad Foundation Board of Trustees, item number 1, about the possible approval to repay the Bassett's approximately $72,400. Historically, and I've said this before, but I feel it's so important, so I want to say it one more time, there was a financial firewall established when Kennecott divested itself of the railroad. The city of Ely was on one side and the Nevada Northern Railway was on the other side. For a quarter of a century, the railroad finances had been kept separated from the city taxpayers. The reasons for maintaining this separation are as compelling now as they were then. As it now stands, the taxpayers of the city are not liable for any of the railroad's bills. If you start paying off the railroad's debts, you breach that firewall. Once you pay one railroad debt, you open the floodgates. You open yourselves and the taxpayers of Ely up to being responsible for other railroad debts. For these reasons, please do not approve the expenditure to repay Mark and Joe Bassett. It's not the city's debt. And by assuming it, you put the city's taxpayers at risk for repaying other railroad creditors.
Thank you.
Eldora Johnson, Ely resident. Wasn't going to talk either, but I've never heard of such a thing as an employee borrowing a loan to an entity that should be going to Mr. Ginoli's bank, who has auditors. You have auditors. I had not ever heard one person say they wanted that railroad closed. And I love it as much as anything. My kid was little. He thought he owned that railroad. But I've never heard of such a thing as an employee to do that. And I said, if you watch CNBC, you see a lot of things that they just keep borrowing money, and then one day says, well, I know you can't pay it back, so we'll just take a percentage of the railroad. That to me is a worry. I don't think we should ever have employees investing in their job financially. If we need money, we need to go to a lending facility and do it the correct way. And I too, Ron, want to thank you for everything you've done for us. I live in Central Ely, and we are the armpit of Ely, Nevada. And we had guys out shoveling snow and raking up snow and hauling it out of our streets, even on a Saturday. And with all the elders that live down in that area and poor people, those roads have been horrendous and caused lots of wrecks. And we talk to your employees love you, they get along well with you, they respect you, and they're getting the work done. I have to say thank you for that.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rick Stork. I'm a resident of the city of Ely. And I've just got a few questions I'd like to ask. Number one is, why are you trying to change the policy that you guys have just changed on letting Carl take home the city pickup for call-outs? Since when does Carl get all of the call-outs? They used to be rotated between all of the water department employees. If this is still the case, then why does he need to take a truck? Need to have a truck at home? What has the city council done about the two employees that are still dating? You may think it doesn't violate city policy, but it does violate ethical standards when a city employee has to see the other half of the two that are dating to appeal a grievance. There's no way a city employee can feel that they're going to get a fair shake out of this, so something needs to be done to break this up. Your item number 14 on the agenda for a full personnel meeting on Ron Jenkins violates NRS 240.
Rick, if you're going to start going after city,
No, I'm just talking.
Rick, I'm
Okay.
going to have to stop you if you're going to.
All right, I won't mention the name then. But
You
you're
go
right.
after somebody, go after me, go after the city council.
Okay,
All right.
but what I'm trying to say is that the way you have it agendaed on the council, or the agenda tonight, Mayor, if you hold this personnel session in a closed session, you're in violation of NRS 241.
I'm going to be pulling that.
And if you guys hold it in a closed session, I will be filing a complaint with the Attorney General's office tomorrow. Item number 5B under new business number 1 on the matter of the city of Ely assuming the note payable in the amount of $72,399.22 to Mark and Joan Bassett. Why is the city council so hell-bent on trying to pay off this note when there's no need to? Mark has made it clear enough that he doesn't want to be paid back until the Rail Foundation can do it on its own. Why do you want to stick the city residents with this debt? We do not want this debt on our shoulders and that, but you guys are hell-bent to do it. If you pass this, I will be making a call to the Secretary of State tomorrow, and I will see what it's going to take to file recall papers on every one of you to recall you out of office for putting the city further in debt than you already have.
Thank you, Rick.
Hi, my name is Katie Giannoli. I think there's a lot of people here who didn't anticipate speaking, and I'm one of those, but I just wanted to get up and say I hope that the council and the management board and the people who run the railroad are all going in the right direction. I hope that we all have the same hopes and dreams for the railroad. It's a special place, and it would be a tragedy to lose it. And the only other thing I wanted to say, and I won't keep it very long, but I have to come up here and I have to say something in support of Mark Bassett. I think Mark can say, and I can say, and everybody can say, and quite frankly, everybody in this room can say that nobody's perfect. And clearly, you know, that may not have been the best idea to make a loan to the railroad, but he did it with the best of intentions, trying to keep it open. It was never malicious or anything like that. And Mark and Joan pour their hearts and their souls into that place. And I think that everything they've done to try to make that a viable railroad should be commended. And I believe that maybe there are some things to work out. I think that with everybody working together, we can do it, and the railroad can be more successful in the future. But I just have to stand up here and support all the effort that he's put into it. There's not another person with the connections and the knowledge and the heart and passion for it like Mark. And so I just have to support him. Thank you guys for taking the time.
Now's the time to come up. There's no other public comment? Mr. Chester?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wasn't going to talk, but I changed my mind. Mr. Mayor, I'm concerned, as many of the people are here. There's a lot of misinformation, a lot of rumors, and that needs to stop. I haven't talked to one councilman who wants to shut down that railroad. What the council, as I see it, and I've attended more meetings than all of you folks put together, and probably even everyone in this audience. I saw a memo posted from the last meeting. It says, if agenda items 5B2 and 6C3 are passed, you will probably see the Nevada Northern Railroad shut down and loss of all staff jobs. A lot of businesses will be affected due to the loss of tourism in the area. That's a false statement. The city council is doing their due diligence. When you're notified by your auditors that you have a discrepancy, you better address it, and I believe you folks are. It's unfortunate that there's a lot of rumors out, scaring the public, scaring the railroad employees. When you have a deficit, you have to address it. I don't see where any of the council has said we're going to take the funding away. All you said, we want to help you, we want to find out where we can cut costs and not take over additional expenses. In the past, the railroad did pay all of its expenses. But since, let's say, 1990, the city is paying the insurance, I believe, unless that's changed. The city is paying for the audit, unless that's changed. You've taken on some of the debt that should be paid by the railroad, and it isn't. And I'm sure it's because you want to help the railroad. In this case, where you have a flag that's been put up, again, you're trying to help the railroad. If there's money needed to be borrowed, there's a procedure for that. The expenditure or the money that was borrowed far exceeds $25,000. You should have gone out to bid. When were you told about that? A lot of things are surprises. When an individual comes before you and you ask him, what are they making? And they say, I don't know. Who's your bookkeeper? My wife. What do they make? I don't know. Who's your auditor? What do they make? I don't know. You need to know that tourism training is valuable to the community. But you have to be financially sound. It's unfortunate that some people are misled on what your intentions are. But you have to address that issue. You need to address that without being pressured, so to speak, that you're shutting down the railroad. I don't think any of you have that. Mr. Mayor, I gave you NRS 239.107 in request for public information, and I've not got anything from you, sir. There's a time period.
Mr. Jackson, you're going to have to wait until the next public comment because your time.
All right, I'll be back, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for the invitation.
I know you did.
If I may, I'm David Raber. I'm a volunteer for the Nevada Northern Railway. I live outside town. It's about 500 miles outside town. I'm up here 8 or 9 times a year. My wife and I, as much as we can. And in the meantime, we listen to some of the city council meetings and read the city times. So I'm not here to ask you to keep the railroad open at all costs, because I know that would be a big cost. And my experience in business, I want to tell you that as I look at this, I am optimistic that there is a spot where you could reach a sustainable, self-perpetuating level for the railroad, which I think is what we all want. That optimism is based on some research I do. My wife and I talk to, we think estimate about 600 to 800 adults each year about White Pine County, Ely, and about the railroad. We volunteer working travel shows and railroad shows. My wife's an artist. Her images of the Nevada Northern Railway, her paintings of the Nevada Northern Railway, in museums and in galleries in New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles. And it's so exciting to her when people come up and say, oh my gosh, that is America. Where is that? And she can talk not about the art, but about what's here. So from all the conversations we have with people, I can say that American heritage is hot. And you have such a great example of it here. So I think that we could all take some comfort in that, but we all know, I believe we all know, that it's going to take more donations, more grants, more riders, more membership to reach the level that we want for that self-sustaining operation. Now, I'm not here with a business plan for that. Even if I did, it wouldn't count. Because as I learned from business, the only business plan that really counts, the only estimates that really counts, are from the people who have to deliver. So that'd be you, the trustees, that'd be the management board, that'd be Mark. So let me just encourage you to give careful thought to that self-sustaining equilibrium that we need for the railroad. Each of you can take the back of envelopes and start that way, and then talk amongst yourselves. But in the dialogues that I hear, I haven't heard enough yet about that being a really important priority for you to reach that goal. So let me encourage you for that, to develop that business plan, both individually and then share it amongst the group. I'd also like to encourage you, just as looking at this from an outside, that The corporate governance for this body seems a little complex. I mean, it's not even $1 million organization. You've got essentially 2 boards with some ambiguities and some overlap. And you don't want to flirt and digress into management by committee, where everything has to be safe with everybody, where nobody can take the risk to move forward, where everybody has to then hunker down, be more conservative, because that could lead to less attention for the railroad, less ridership, fewer members, grants not being, I mean, who wants to contribute to a ghost town, right? So I think it's going forward. I think that addressing the corporate governance would be an important consideration, and perhaps even simplifying it. There's a motion for that here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anything else? Step up to the podium.
My name is Leslie Martin, and I too have not intended to speak. My husband, Jerry Martin, was an original member of the foundation board, but he couldn't be here today. But I want to say that I'm very heartened to see item 1 under C, new business, consideration to contact the Foundation Management Board with proposed dates to meet with the Historical Foundation. And I would encourage that these entities meet and come to a solution that everyone's comfortable with. That's what these boards are about. You represent the community, both the City Council and the Nevada Northern Board. So I think that's what we all want, for everyone to work together and put aside any petty differences. Mark Bassett may have made some mistakes. Maybe he lent money when he shouldn't have. But he has appeared on TV in programs that has given us countless advertising at no charge, free advertising, to the point where he is recognized now in places where you wouldn't expect him to be recognized. So if anybody watches a restoration show out of Las Vegas, Mark's been on it, I don't know, 6-8 times. That's free advertising. So I think we need to commend him for some of those things that he's done. And I also very much like to agree with the previous speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. Going once, going twice.
This long walk. First of all, Steve Campbell, and I'm not a city resident, I'm sorry, from the county, but I've been listening to, there's a lot of good information coming from these people here on both sides, and I agree with half the people here that say that yes, there needs to be checks and balances, and I also agree with the other half that the railroad is what it is today because of the management that's currently there and the volunteers that work for that management. So, you know, it's not a matter of a cut and dry situation, which the city council has to do cut and dry, I understand that. But it's a matter of what works and what doesn't work. So, you know, nothing against the city council being the government agency that they are, but in what I've seen over the last 20 years, I want to go all the way back, usually when government gets involved in something, it usually doesn't work out very well. Okay? I'm sorry, I'm a Fox News viewer, and that's my show, okay? But, like I said before, yes, I agree. There needs to be checks and balances. And I think the city council members that are here have been voted by the community. I think you were voted in because you had goals and ideas, and you have the ideas to make the city better, and that's great. And I think one of the ways you can do that is to find the medium ground between what is working and what needs to be done to make it better. I personally myself, I don't believe that the city should really go diving in to try and actually take somewhat financial control, because I think from what I've heard, I think that the railroad can make that happen on its own with the city's help in some aspects, and that's a good thing. But, you know, you guys are forgetting that a lot of the railroad, like I said before, is the volunteers. Volunteers don't get paid for nothing. They do it because they want to do it. And I think a lot of times where the railroad, the management does a lot of things because they need to do it. They want to do it. I work for the local government in this community, and sometimes, you know, there's things that need to get done. And there's so many red tape and black lines and documents and line C and A, section 4, paragraph 3. By the time somebody finishes reading it, it's too late. It's over. It's done. So yes, sometimes people do make decisions, you know, to try and keep things going. I'm not promoting that. I'm not condoning it. I'm just saying that, you know, as a city council, I think part of your job is to make the city better. The railroad makes the city better. The railroad, as it is now, has made the city better. And to get too far into it, I'm just saying, as a reminder, it could be down some treacherous waters. Thank you.
I'm Denise Coyle, and I am not one of your constituents either. But I spend a lot of time in Ely, I spend a lot of money here, and I go to a lot of meetings here. I'm also a business person. I've been audited every 2 years since I've been in business by some governmental agencies. It is the job of auditors to find problems. You hire somebody to go in and find out what's wrong. The railroad audit, and I've read the findings, there were 4 material findings. They weren't significant findings. If there had been significant findings, it would have been dereliction of duty and money misappropriated and all that kind of stuff. The 4 findings can be addressed by can be and are being addressed by the management board. And I think it'll be all taken care of. And if this thing drags on too long, your reputation's going to be hurt, the city reputation's going to be hurt, railroad is going to be hurt, and the donations won't be there. Thank you.
Okay, if there is no other public comment, we got one there.
This thing work? I can't hear it back there. Well, I'm glad to see that you are still here from the last meeting I was in.
Tell them who you are.
I thought they'd run you out by now.
Tell them who you are.
My name is Al Curtis.
Thank you.
I know you. And you get a lot more with sugar, honey, than you do with vinegar. And I'm here to ask one thing. Please consider your bee ordinance. We didn't have any bees last year. I counted 1. And believe me, I keep track of it. I know somebody gets stung. They don't know a honeybee from a wasp or anything else. It stings this thing. There's 15 things that'll sting you in White Pine County. Anybody wants information, they can call me. Any of your councilmen. And I'm available to talk to you on it and why. I've talked to the extension agent. We'll set it up anytime you want. But please consider that so that we had no apples last year. 5 apples. I usually get 5 bushels. You understand? There was no bees. Now, the railroad, I won't touch that with a 10-foot pole.
Okay, if there's no other public comment, I'm going to shut public comment now. And we'll go on with our schedule. They're First of all, before I move on with that, I should have done this right before public comment. In the closed session at the end with Ron Jenkins, that was voluntary by Ron Jenkins. I put it on the agenda. Ron says he's resolved all those problems, and I'm going to scratch it from the agenda. So we won't be going over that. And with that, we're going to city department reports, starting with fire chief. Ross, I don't even know where you're at. Everything all right?
I'm here.
Does the field check out?
One thing I'd like to mention is that I sent you all some information from NDEP on the Lackawanna Mill site for EPA possible assessment done by the EPA. And I don't know where the cost of any of that is, but you did receive all that information. Did you not? Okay, I just want to make sure that you acknowledge that. So that might be something that you might want to talk about, maybe come to a decision. So if it comes up to a spur of the moment deal like we had this last time, I think I got the email on Thursday and they needed an answer by Tuesday, that might be something that might want to be put on the agenda to discuss. Other than that, you have my report. Do you have any questions?
No questions. Thanks, Rob. All right.